I live inside my own world of make-believe.
Today I'm taking you guys with me running errands as we talk about the things that make your home cool. All of these things are things that you can actually change about your home. I'm not talking about things like architectural details or other items that obviously are really cool but you don't necessarily have that much control over in your space. These will all be items or very simple things that you can put in your space that will instantly make people recognize that you have good style. So let's go. The first thing is when people take items that could very easily be really boring or basic and they take the time to make them really unique and interesting. So for example, curtains. Curtains are something that are really easy to just pick, like a really basic white set of sheer curtains. Super classy, definitely a time and a place for them. But it's super cool when I walk into a space and I see that someone took something like curtains and they did something really fun with it. Maybe you pick like a really cool color, like a really bold, funky color, or you do like a stripe or another pattern. But that's an example of something that you could very easily make just really basic and make a safe choice. But instead, you pick something really bold and fun. Another thing could be lampshades. There are also really cool options out there, like cool fabric ones, fun colors, fun patterns. You could mix up the material, maybe do like a metal lampshade. Doors is a really fun one. Even just something as simple as painting your doors can be so cool. Especially think of closet doors. Closet doors are really overlooked and they can be really boring. And you don't have to make everything in your home a statement, but just simply painting them a really fun color can be a way to turn that basic closet door into something that's fun and more of an art piece in the room. I am oddly passionate about shower curtains. Don't ask me why, but I think the shower curtain options on the market are so boring. They're so sad. Bathrooms are a really hard place to make feel like cozy and well designed, I think, because you have so many hard materials like your vanity, your tile, your shower surround, etc. And you don't have a lot of really soft like textiles and materials. But if you have a shower curtain, it could be like plastic or just like a plain color, and turn it into something really intentional, like an art piece. You could just get like a fun pattern or a fun color. But don't be afraid to just use fabric in your space. In my shower, I actually used, I think it's actually supposed to be a window curtain that my sister thrifted. And I put like the shower curtain liner, and then I just clipped on this vintage fabric to the outside as my shower curtain. I didn't even hem it. I literally just folded over the fabric in the back and clipped it. If you need to wash it, like you don't have to worry about moisture and mold. Literally you just unclip it and you throw it in the washing machine. It's not that big of a deal. Even plastic shower curtains need to be washed and cleaned. So find some vintage fabric, a cool pattern, a funky color, and throw it up in your shower. So again, you don't need to curate every single thing in your home, but when I walk into people's spaces and I do see that they took normally really boring things and they thought of something unique to do with it, I instantly can tell that they have style. So that could be swapping out your, what are they called, your light switches for something cool, or what do you call it, toilet paper holder? Your toilet paper holder for something just like more unique or a fun color. You don't have to think too hard about it, but anything like that would normally be really basic and you can do something fun and different with it shows me that you are cool and you have cool taste and style. Oh my gosh, I just pulled up to Walmart and realized that I don't even have the return that I need to make to Walmart. So gotta go pick that up. Another day in my chaotic, unorganized life. Something else that I think shows that you have style is when you have a unique take on shelving. Of course, there is a time and place to have just your more kind of classic, basic, beautiful shelving. but there's also a lot of cool things that you can do with shelves. For one, I recently have really been into when people put shelves in front of windows. I think it's super cool. It's a really neat take on it. Also, if you live in a small space, it can be a really great use of like wall space. Of course, if you have limited natural light, that may not be a great option for you. I also love when people do really fun colors on bookshelves, whether the whole shelf is painted a really cool bold color or you just paint like the inside of the bookshelf a fun color. It's a different take on like people normally painting the room a fun color and the bookshelf is like white or something boring. It's kind of flipping that perspective in a way that shows you have unique style. I instantly know that you have style if you use items not as they were originally intended. So thinking about unique ways to use items in a different way than you would traditionally use them. So for example, this probably won't resonate with a lot of people, but I once saw this artist, they got like a corduroy couch and they used it as an art piece. Like they literally drew art on this couch, and obviously if you're not an artist, you may not want people to actually draw on your couch, but I thought it was a really cool idea. I have mentioned before in a video using wall hooks, 3D wall hooks or odd items that you have around your house, putting those on the wall as art instead of just your traditional framed art. You can also do this with furniture. The other day when I was scrolling on Facebook Marketplace, I saw these. They were movie theater seats or bus seats, something like that, but they were vintage. And I was like, how cool would it be to take those and put them right in your entryway or on a random hallway, something like that, instead of where you might normally put like a bench, for example, and use it as like a different take on seating or having like a surface to drop things. So just any time that you can think outside the box and use an object in a way you wouldn't really expect, it shows me that you are cool and you instantly have cool style. I know you have good style and you are cool when you go all in and you demonstrate that you're not afraid of making really bold decisions in your space. So this can be done in a couple different ways. One of my favorite is with art because I just love art. I think it's one of the most important things you can do in your space. And one thing I love doing is when people deck out one section, like one spot in their home with artwork. And it could be somewhere where you might normally put like two pieces of artwork together on a wall or do like a really small gallery wall. But instead, I love when people go floor to ceiling or they wrap a corner and they make a really bold decision with the size and scale of their artwork or their gallery wall. I think you can also do this in the inverse way by taking a spot on a wall where you might normally put one or two medium prints, but instead you choose to make a statement by putting a really tiny piece. So maybe it's over your bed. I see people do that a lot, where you might normally do a larger piece of art, but they choose to just do like one tiny little oil painting, or it might be over your couch. And by doing that, it really highlights that tiny piece in a really unique way. By you not being scared to have like empty space, you almost highlight and accent that little piece so much more. One note, if you want to do this, is be careful that your artwork isn't too high above whatever piece of furniture or whatever it's over. Otherwise, a little piece of artwork can sometimes feel like it's just floating in space, and you want it to feel grounded. So make sure it's close enough to the furniture underneath it that it feels connected and people understand that you are creating a vignette or this little artistic moment. Otherwise, it could feel unintentional, which is doing the opposite of what you want it to do. Another way that you can go all in and make bold decisions in your design is by using paint or wallpaper in really bold, unique ways. I think we can get trapped in this mindset of we have to use paint and wallpaper. Let's not crash. we get stuck in this trap of feeling like we need to use paint and wallpaper in one specific way. Like we have to stop at the ceiling and the ceiling has to be white, or we can't wallpaper the ceiling or paint the floor. Like, no, I think it's super cool when people use items, materials, finishes in really unique ways that you wouldn't expect. So that could be putting wallpaper on your ceiling, or I think it's becoming more of a trend now, which I actually like, is color drenching your whole room. So not just painting your walls, but painting everything the same color. Your walls, your trim, your ceiling, your doors, and color drenching a whole room. Don't do this in every space. It can be too much, but when you do it thoughtfully, it is super cool and creates just a really unique feeling in your space. You can also just paint your ceiling a certain color, like paint your walls white or neutral and then do a fun pop of color on the ceiling. You can also paint your floors a really fun color, or if you don't want to use paint, if that doesn't hold up well, just choosing a material or a rug or something on your flooring that is a really bold color that people wouldn't think of using. Going along with not being afraid to make really bold choices in your space. I love when people pick sorry, my nose itches. I love when people pick really bold, unexpected colors for objects. And this is a great way to make a bold choice that is easy to fix, because you don't have to put a bold color on really large, expensive items. You can do it on more smaller accent pieces that are less risky if you want to switch them out. But things like wall sconces are, I think, a great way to do this. Red is one of my favorites. Or you could do like blue or yellow is really fun. You could paint fixtures you already have. But picking things like wall sconces or really bold colored art, painting the frames of artwork you already have, can be a fun, approachable way to make a really bold choice that shows people that you're cool and you are not afraid of risks in your interior design style. You are also instantly cool if you hang or display art in unexpected, unique places. For example, I am obsessed when people display art on art easels in their home, which is really basic. Maybe I shouldn't like it as much as I do, but we always hang art on the wall, and that's great. But there are so many other cool ways that you can display art in your home. It can also be a great way to fill a corner. If you have like a random corner, you're not really sure what to put there, put a piece of art on an easel, and it's a different take of a way to fill that corner in a unique way. You can also easily swap out your artwork that way since you're not having to mount it on the wall. I also really, really love when people have leaned artwork that is leaned against the wall with artwork mounted on the wall above it. Anytime you have leaned artwork, whether it's on the floor and then you have mounted artwork above it, or maybe it's on a credenza or another surface with mounted artwork above it, it just makes that leaned artwork seem that much more intentional and feels more curated than if you just hung all of your artwork up in a gallery wall. I also love art in unexpected places, like inside of shelving. I love just leaning artwork inside of shelves as part of the styling and layering moment. But especially when you hang just like a little oil painting or a photo inside of a shelf where you might not normally think to like actually hang a piece of artwork on that surface. Put artwork in odd places. You can put it above your door. You can put it above your light switch and kind of make like your light switch in a little painting, a little moment. I think anytime I open a linen cabinet or anything and I see a piece of artwork in a place or a location that I wasn't expecting, it just stands out to me as being really cool and clearly intentional, which we love. There are also really cool ways to hang your art. So instead of just hanging all of your art on nails or screws on the wall, think about using different picture rail systems. And that could be like a like a shelf picture rail, or it could be those systems that are hanging from the ceiling or from wires on your wall. It's just such a more unique, intentional take on hanging wall art that can fill up more wall space, but it can also be more of a eye-catching architectural moment with your art. And I just think it looks so cool. And of course, I had to mention asymmetrical and intentionally off-center art placement on the wall. This is one of my favorites. It's one of the easiest ones to do because you don't even have to use like a measuring tape or anything to hang your artwork. So, for example, above your bed, instead of placing a piece of art directly centered over your bed, try pushing it off to one side, or over your couch, doing an asymmetrical art placement, whether it's one print or like a little cluster of prints. Think about doing things off center and not perfectly symmetrical. Now, of course, you want the room to feel balanced, so you don't want to do this in every scenario. And one key thing to note when you're doing this is you want it to look intentional. So don't just slightly put the print off center. You want to like really move it off center to one side where it is super clear that you are making a unique, intentional art placement choice. And it just looks cool. It catches your eye and people will know you have style. Next, you're instantly cool if you highlight items in your home that would more traditionally be hidden or are more traditionally seen as unattractive. So I could not find any photo examples of this, but the first example that came to mind was your electrical box or your breaker box in your home. Sometimes they're placed in an area where it makes a lot of sense to cover them with a painting, for example. But I tend to dislike when people try too hard to hide things in their home, especially when it doesn't make sense and it just looks too DIY and unintentional. So I haven't seen this in real life, but it could be really cool if you took your breaker box and you painted it a really fun color, just like a funky color that you wouldn't expect. You could hang a little piece of like an oil painting or a piece of artwork on the outside, or put a little piece of artwork above it and have a little chair and like make it a moment. But sometimes it's cool when you take those unattractive or awkward things about your home and you lean into it and make it fun and intentional rather than trying to hide it. And it shows that you have good style and you can think outside the box. Another really cool thing that you can do to have more unique and cool art is displaying your hobbies. Everyone loves to know what other people's hobbies are. It's just really unique and cool, and it's something that is super unique to you, even if it's like a very normal hobby. And taking those objects or hobbies of yours and turning them into artwork is a really cool take on art, in my opinion. So, for example, maybe you're actually an artist and you create some of your own art, or you just have out your art supplies. Maybe you're really into music and maybe you just literally have your instruments out. Whatever it is, thinking of your hobbies, things that you care about. Maybe it's listening to music and you have, stuff from artists and musicians that you really love that you've collected and put on your wall. Whatever it is, thinking of your hobbies and the things that are meaningful to you and using that in a unique way as decor in your room or on your walls is really cool, and it personalizes your space and it shows me and others that you don't care what other people think. You want to create a space that you love and reflects you and your hobbies. And I think that's cool and shows that you have personal taste. There are also so many really cool ways to frame your art, both the actual frame and the matting, in super cool ways that make your art stand out. So, I need to get gas. Yikes. For example, I've seen this a lot online. I haven't actually tried it, but using wood as matting or backing for your photos is so cool. And it adds like a warmth and a depth and just a unique material to artwork that you don't normally see. I also love when you change up scale in your artwork. So that's not just the print size itself, but for example, doing a really large frame in a large mat size with like a really tiny photo. Or I also love when you do a collection of really small photos inside a really large frame. It's a different take on something that is typically, pretty standardized. You can also, like we've said, do different colored framing, different colored matting. I've seen people use wallpaper on the back of their photos as matting for prints. I really love when people off-center photos or prints inside of frames. Maybe you have like a really tiny photo in the corner of a print or just off to one side. You can also think about using different frame shapes. So instead of your more traditional square or rectangle, maybe you do like a really, really skinny, long rectangular picture frame, or you do a rectangular frame with like a square print. So just thinking about scale and shape and framing, matting, all of that in a unique way shows that you are cool and you have cool style. You also are cool and have style if you mix styles in your space. So this goes for mixing actual design styles like, farmhouse, modern, mid-century, like mixing those styles together. But this also goes specifically for mixing items. So for example, I love when people mix dishes, when instead of having like a full set of 8 or 10 place settings that are matching, I love when either their glassware is kind of mismatched, either completely mismatched or in like sets of 4, or their dinner plates and dinnerware is mismatched. It's just unique, it feels curated, and it feels really cool. And it's also really easy to do because at most thrift or vintage stores, you may not be able to find, you probably can't find a full set of donated beautiful dishware, but you can find small sets of dinnerware that match really well together, and it creates just a super collected, well-styled space. You are instantly cool if I walk into your home and you have some sort of a little nook somewhere. Now, this could be something you naturally have because of the architecture and design of your home, but it doesn't need to be the case. Even if you have a big box of a living space, you can still create little nooks and little corners through your design without needing any sort of architecture that leans into that. Now, I would encourage you to refrain from using paint as a way to divide out this nook space. That's a whole other conversation, but try to think about using things like an area rug in the corner, furniture like a chair and a little side table, put art above it. You can use shelving, like book shelving, using furniture to segment out that little nook space. Lighting is also a great way to do this. Put like a lamp or a light fixture that shines directly in that nook that you're trying to accent. And I will think you are cool because everyone wants to walk into space and be able to find some little like nook where they can go like read a book or like sit back and kind of watch what's going on. Whatever it is, you are cool if you have an area where I can walk in and access some sort of like little nook or hideaway spot in your space. I've said it before, I will say it a million times, good lighting design is the coolest thing that you can possibly do. For this video, I specifically am thinking of lamps in cool spaces. I think it's become a lot more mainstream for people to put lamps in their kitchen, for example, but there are a lot of other cool places that you can put lamps. So putting lamps in your bathroom, in your entryway. It's really cool when I walk into a room and they have like some sort of tiny little lamp on a shelf. I'm really into clip-on lamps for some reason. Don't overdo it, but having those like cool vintage or fun colored clip-on lamps on a shelf or on a desk instantly shows me that you have a unique take on lighting that doesn't just include a table lamp or a standing lamp from Target. You've taken a fun little twist on it. either in your lighting choice or in your lighting placement. And I also really like floor lamps, and I'm not talking about the tall standing ones, though those are great, but lamps that can actually sit on your floor. Now that may not work if you have kids or pets, but they're so cool, and it's just like a fun different take on lamps. Lastly, because I finished all my errands and I'm home, a few random objects that I am just really into recently for no good reason. Number one, I love wire items. Shelving, like really cool cabinets or shelving, wire baskets. I don't know, just like that like wire mesh type of look, I think is super cool and architectural, especially when you do it in a really fun color. It's just a cool take. I just like it. I also really am into chrome and metal. I always think you should have a touch of metal in every single space, but more of like a chrome silver finish. I'm really enjoying photos that I'm seeing of furniture that incorporate chrome and silver finishes. I love furniture that has like built-in side tables. So beds that have built-in side tables or couches that have built-in side tables. This is not a new thing. It's very mid-century, but I think it's really, really cool. This also goes for shelving behind couches. I'm seeing a lot of those couches with shelving either built into the back, or they have shelving that just kind of wraps around the couch. It's a great way to display like your books or any fun objects that are meaningful to you or hobbies. You are cool if I walk into your space and I see a really neat architectural plant. We have fallen for too many fiddly fig trees, too many snake plants and pothos. And I love all of those plants. I have a pothos in my house. But if you can try to get something a little more unique and different, pretty architectural. It's just a fun way to add interest to your space, and it catches people's eye. Not that you need them to know that you're cool and you have style, but they will think that. And lastly, the thing that will make your home the most cool is having a perspective on your home that emphasizes it being a place that you love and reflects the hobbies and interests that you have in your life, rather than caring about what other people think of your home. So don't think too much about individual items, and if they fall into a certain design style or whatever, fill your home with things and people that you love and reflect hobbies that you care about, and your home will be cool just as it is. So hope that was helpful. Thanks for running errands with me. See you next time.